What's going on, guys? Do we have audio? I'm taking questions from our Discord, so make sure you're on Discord and you're asking in Tales of the Crypto. And questions are going to pop up right here on the video. And this video will be recorded so you guys can come back in and check it out. So you got 3 watchers on YouTube. We're also going Facebook Live with this one. Gonna go ahead and repeat the intro. What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning into this Fibonacci Pitchfan workshop. Right, what I'm going to cover is how I use the Pitchfan to monitor BTC and predict where it's going to retrace, some potential reversal points, some pivot points. This tool has been handy. It's been really handy when it comes to tracking BTC, especially when we're at like these turning points, right? Where is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? Where's the next channel to close a long, open a short, and so on. I've used these pitch fans to show long-term retracements and also interim swings whenever it's just starting off a fresh move, like a new uptrend or a new downtrend. We can also double up pitch fans. If you have an uptrend and we have a downtrend, we can layer 2 fans and see where they intersect, and that's going to give us a good pivot point too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go, right now I'm on a 30-minute time frame. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of adjust my chart here a little bit for you guys. Awesome. All right, that's better. How's the audio? Is audio good? Drop me a comment on Discord or on YouTube. Thanks, Johnny. It's not a haircut. I actually just did something to it. I put some gel in it today. Awesome. All right, guys. I actually, did my hair. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to start on a 4-hour time frame. Just going to go ahead and go over here and adjust that. Might need to shrink my screen a little more for you guys. There we go. So if you guys have used pitchforks before or Fibonacci retracements, what fibs do is they allow us to find these various support and resistance levels that might not be on the chart, right? And this is sort of where we're at over here. We did get a 61.8 retracement. This is just a Fibonacci retracement tool that I'm picking up just to essentially show what BTC has done. We did bounce above the 61.8 on this move, which is good. It's healthy. This went from what we thought was going to be a minor pullback off this swing low, but it wasn't. It was actually a full-blown retracement from the top, from the bottom of this move to this top. So this is looking pretty good. The fact that we broke this pivot point where we failed to break yesterday, we failed to pass this level of resistance right here, the 9400 mark, but we shot straight through that today, so that's healthy. Anyways, I wanted to kind of go over this just to show you guys where BTC is. We do have a double bottom formation as well, so that looks good for the time being. I'm glad we didn't retest the 6700 low. Now, since we do have a double bottom here and a double top here, this will be an interesting range for BTC to trade in. I just wanted to cover that before I dive in. I'm sure everybody's got questions on BTC's movements. Let's go ahead and get rid of this fib. Now, pitch fans. There's going to be several types of pitch fans. There's a Jan pitch fan. What else? There's a standard pitch fan, and there's going to be these pitchforks. I personally like to use this standard pitch fan. And just like in a Fibonacci retracement or extension or even a pitchfork, we want to go from swing high, swing low. What I do with this pitch fan, so let's say we were monitoring, I'll start with this latest downtrend, right? So we do have a swing high, so I'm going to start by clicking on this swing high and then swing low and another swing high. Why did I pick this points to deploy my Fib? Well, we do have a swing high. That was the last area of resistance. This was the last area of support, followed by the last area of resistance. So if BTC was going to be in a downward channel, this is going to define that channel, because this is a swing low of this channel. It's going to be down here. It's going to be the swing high of that channel. And what we get is these various Fibonacci levels, right? And if we click on the Fib, we go in our settings, is going to be the 0.25, 38.2, 50%, 61.8, 75, and the 1. We can also add the 1.5, the 1.75. I don't feel like I need those to track BTC, so I stick to these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different Fib levels, and I can go ahead and kind of make them a little bolder for you guys to see a little better. Any questions so far of why I laid down the swing high over here, swing low, swing high, to establish the current channel and the strength, I guess the motion of this downtrend? Yes and no. We'll get into that. If we're tracking a downtrend, it's going to be from that last swing high, last swing low, last swing high. If we're going to be tracking a downtrend, and I'll go into tracking an uptrend, which is going to be a little bit trickier. The main, and I'll move further into that. So now that we've got our downtrend Pitchfan set up, if we're in a true downtrend, whatever the token is, whatever the chart is, it's going to want to stick to the median, right? So you're going to get these upwards breaks, but it's going to retrace back to the median. And this is what we're seeing over here, a retracement, a pullback back to the median. Now, we are also, as of the last few days, BTC has been in a downtrend, and this is how we track it. But if you're looking at this last true swing low, the last lowest point on the chart, we're somewhat of an uptrend from there. So there's also another Pitchfan to be drawn. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this one for now, and we'll bring it back in. Now, where it gets tricky is tracking these new trends, right? This new uptrend, where does this one start? And that's going to be a little tricky, and a lot of times I actually adjust my Pitchfan as BTC makes these moves, so I make sure my median is true and straight, because we're going to get the most pivot points off that median and the most retracements to it. So to track this current uptrend without doing all these trend lines, right? Because what a Pitchfan also does is it allows us to track an accelerating trend, right? So here we had an accelerating uptrend where support kind of moved up and was starting to move up faster, right? And that's what trend lines don't compensate for. You have to keep drawing them, and that's why I bring in the Pitchfan. So let me go ahead and get rid of these lines and demonstrate how the Pitchfan will actually show us an accelerating downtrend, decelerating downtrend, and same thing for an uptrend. And just to start off, I'm going to go ahead and lay my swing high up here to start establishing somewhat of a channel. Now, does that look like it's the right one? Most likely not, because we're getting a lot of, not a lot, but some price action outside of the fan. But we did retrace back to the median, somewhat below the median. And this wouldn't be a swing high. This would be like a neutral point to align with, it's almost like the middle of the swing high and swing low. So in a situation like this, because we are in an uptrend, we want to start maybe with a swing low, last swing low before this trend, but not an aggressive one. So this is going to get tricky. Here we're way below it, so it's not going to be our true swing low. Now this looks just about right. And why do I say that? Because we did get a lot of friction with our median, right? We didn't break out of the fan, but we did have an accelerating uptrend. You got our swing high, our swing low, and I went to this last median on this uptrend, right? Because we had a lot of price action over here, which that's where the market somewhat agreed that BTC should be before the swing low and the swing high of this range. So I went to the middle of this range to do that. Now, you know, well, hey, a valid argument can be, hey, well, you know what, George, you threw that right in the middle, you eyeballed it. But a justification for this would be we are getting a lot of friction with the median, especially when we went back into this uptrend. So if BTC was to get in a more aggressive uptrend or to maintain that uptrend, it would either stay along this median or go up to the next fib level, right? But whenever we left this uptrend, this median, and BTC broke downwards, well, what happened there? It left where the most friction was in that uptrend because we are tracking an uptrend, and it entered somewhat of a downtrend, actually broke down completely, and it bounced off our next fib level. It broke through two different channels. Now back to, okay, any questions on this pitch fan on why I drew it this way and why I actually adjusted it to get the most friction on my median? Watchman, any questions? I know you like asking questions. Same thing with SKH. Yeah, so if we were on a smaller time frame, right, I wouldn't be tracking this long-term move. What I would be actually, you know, on a 30-minute chart, and I would be trying to find a median around here. But since we've gone parabolic, right, we want to look at the longer time frame. And Cody, to answer that question, I moved back in from Tether into BTC a little earlier today. I want to say like a couple hours ago on the bull flag. So SKH, the time frame that's going to define what median you want to find is the time frame you're going to trade that move on, right? Because we're getting these real violent swings, it only makes sense to try to capture the bigger moves where we're playing these bigger fib lines to get the most returns instead of going on an intraday pitch fan where we're doing like a 5-minute tracking. Plus, it hasn't been really BTC's been either bull flag or bear flag. It makes these gains, it goes into a bull flag and it breaks up, and then enters another range, bull flag, and goes up, and same thing on the way down. It's been doing all these bear flags on the way down and then this bull flag on the way up. And I'll go ahead and dive into BTC's price action a little later in this video. Are you guys following along? Are you guys trying to do this as I'm doing it, or no? You're just kind of watching. All right, so I'm gonna go back to that last downtrend pitch fan I drew from the last swing high, swing low, swing high. And now what we're getting is these various fib levels, right? And we're getting these points of intersection where, well, actually this previous fan was pretty big, but if we notice, where did that downtrend stop last? Well, at that 84, 93 or so. And here we get two intersections of two different fib levels, right? And then we try to break up above the next level and then back down, but we stayed in this range. And that was, pretty important for BTC to get that secondary bounce, even though it was less of a rejection. But if I was to add an RSI here, I would most likely see a bullish divergence between this point and that point. I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line, right? So we've got a lower low, but we're still contained in the same fib zone. And now we're up above the downtrend median and we're entering a new zone. So it would be nice to get a flag over here and then break up into the next level, into the next zone. And here, even on the way down, tracking it. So once we broke down from the median, we try to get friction on this fib level down here, but that was more of a bear flag. Broke down again. Tried to correct to somewhat of an uptrend, but that wasn't possible. Broke down again, and we ended over here. And I'm just gonna add an RSI and a stoch briefly to see what happened here if there was a true bullish divergence. This would be that swing low, right? And this is the next low, and we absolutely see a bullish divergence on a 4-hour chart, and that's pretty crucial, right? A 4-hour chart is really valid. We see a lower low and a higher low on that 4-hour, and now we're back in that uptrend. Now, had this divergence not been there, and then BTC would have gotten essentially weaker and broke down a little further. But this would have been a really good re-entry point or a point to go leverage long based on these fib channels. Any questions so far? How we're combining two fans plus an RSI divergence and I know this is hindsight, but this is really good information, moving forward. Next time we get a correction, how are you guys going to trade it? How are you guys going to handle it? The market teaches us lessons, and if you're not learning these lessons as we go to utilize them for the next retracement, for the next pullback, for the next long entry, then we're not really becoming more efficient traders. Startup of the fan was placed how again? Are we talking about the uptrend fan or the downtrend fan? Because there are two fans here. The uptrend fan. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clean up this chart. I'm going to get rid of the downtrend fan. This is the easy one to draw, right? Now, the uptrend fan is going to be the trickier one, right? And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. I'm going to start over from zero, as in like absolutely nothing, right? We see an uptrend forming. We see a swing high. Where did this new uptrend start, right? We've got this really intense swing low. and we went parabolic from there. So if you were to put this on like a 1 day or 1 week, it wouldn't really be there. It'd be like a massive wick. But to start the uptrend from here with this really like hyper parabolic move, if we were to draw a support line, it's really not valid on this uptrend. So what we want to do is we want to find the fib levels that are going to relate most to this uptrend, right? Now, when did BTC go into the second uptrend after this minor correction? Right here. And back to this move, this new uptrend, you know, there was a range that was developing. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the low and the high of the range. We've got a range is going to be 3 touches, so 1, 2, 3, and so on. Why are we not clicking? Right, so we had 1 touch, 2 touch, 3, and then we broke out of this range. We can even take this range up a little higher and crunch it down. We had a lot of touches and then we broke out. So this would be the beginning of the new uptrend. Now, to get a swing high and a swing low that are going to conform this uptrend, that are going to constrict it, right? Because that's what a fan does. It's going to show us the bounce points. So we're going to click pitch fan. I'm going to identify the swing high, swing low before I do the pitch fan. I'm just going to drop small arrows on them. This is how I'm going to lay this fan. This is going to be my swing high. And this is going to be my swing low. Why do I say that? Because once we draw a fan from here, I've been using these fans for a while, we're really going to get this new uptrend. We're going to get it in a range, be able to track it. And for the main point, you know, where I'm going to pin it, instead of going from a swing high or a swing low, I'm going to go from the middle of that previous range. And then go to swing high, swing low. And that's not really the one I utilized before, so we're going to do a little bit of adjustments to it. The main idea whenever we're layering a pitch fan and trying to see where it's the most true is because this is an uptrend pitch fan, we want to see the most friction in the uptrend on our median. And here we're not really seeing much friction. So, and yes, this is somewhat of a speculative tool, but when laid down correctly and utilized correctly, it works. Now that looks a lot cleaner, right? This is our uptrend. This is where we went parabolic from the uptrend and then corrected back down, and then we really hugged that median. All this friction with the median makes this new uptrend for BTC on this current pitch fan somewhat would hold the pitch fan and like validate where the pitch fan is. Does that answer your question, Watchman? Yes, I mean this trying to figure out a pitch fan for this uptrend is really tricky, right? And that's why some people succeed in markets and others don't. So it is art, it is science, but the main idea is if you can get the your uptrend or your downtrend to really conform to that median, you're gonna get somewhat of an accurate pitch fan. Now back, I'm gonna add my my downtrend pitch fan once again. So we got swing high, swing low, swing high, and we're back to what we were seeing, right? So here we're somewhat of this like no-go zone where if one didn't enter along here, once we broke up, or even on that second one, we want to wait and see what happens, because we can get a secondary retracement, somewhat of a secondary pullback, unless there's another bull flag forming, and I'll go into that here in a bit. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to change my time frame, right? We want to go in like a 30-minute time frame and see if I can lay another fan in there. Am I cool to move on? You guys want me to go over anything on this current 4-hour time frame of BTC before I actually get dive in deeper into the intraday motions? So on an intraday, it's going to get a little bit trickier. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of my volume indicator on the bottom. I don't need it for what we're doing now, and it's sort of in the way. I want to be able to see my wicks. Now, where we currently are, it's going to be a little bit trickier to lay down a pitch fan. We've got a swing low, we've got several swing lows, we also have a range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take you guys through the process of how I would figure out where to lay down this current pitch fan if I was to utilize one or be able to utilize one. I'm going to start, of course, with the last swing low, the most extreme one. Go to the last extreme swing high, and then to the next swing low. This would be the simplest way to lay down a pitch fan on this move, right? Because why? We're in an uptrend. So we're going to start with a swing low, go to a swing high, go to the next swing low. Because BTC enters these parabolic moves, once it moves out of this current fan, then we have to readjust our fan to get it to conform a little better. I can even go down to the swick down here, but if I would do that, right, we'd be a little further off this bounce point. So I'm going to go, or the pivot point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to right there. And if we see what's happening, BTC, you know, once we achieve this fan and we had this upwards break, we had a pivot off the median and down to the next fib level. But in the in-betweens, one, there was a head and shoulders and it broke down to the target and then broke back up. It was just way too bullish for this little intraday head and shoulders that I saw right here. But then we formed a bull flag, and that's going to be pretty bullish. And once we formed this bull flag, BTC went up and had friction with the median and made another bull flag and broke upwards onto the next fib level, right? So head one entered along over here, and on this bull flag on the bottom of this fib, right? Because we have these massive bullish engulfing candles, a small head and shoulders broke down to the head distance, and then it continued this uptrend. So this would have been a really good place for a long entry, especially since it's still in a bull flag formation. Broke all the way up, had a pivot off the next fib level, and now where are we tracing back to? What's over here? Somebody type this answer. What's this red line? The median. There you go. Awesome. And what do you want to get on a pitch fan? You want to see a lot of action on the median. Now, one thing we've noticed, the more BTC hugs the median, the more likely it is to break down. But the more often it goes parabolic and off the median, the more bullish it is. So once we get this retracement down back to the median, that's gonna be our next pivot point where, you know, is BTC gonna break back down or break back up? But because we're somewhat in this bullish range, we're seeing these massive bullish engulfing candles, and we're seeing this double bottom. The bears might just be exhausted. We might keep going up into this uptrend and enter a new parabolic move. Now, what can we expect here? Retracement back to the median? Are we going to break back down from the median? I don't believe so, unless we like form some kind of bear flag, but this medium's pointed up. So as long as we don't go in a rising wedge along the median, then we're good to go. And that's another thing to look out for. You know, once we're hugging that median, why do we break down? We got these different candlestick formations. So if we form a rising wedge on that median, what's going to happen? We're going to break back down to the next level. So these are things to look out for whenever we're using this fan to see what's happening at these levels. Now right here we had a bull flag breaking up. This looks like somewhat of a falling wedge. I'll go on like a 5 minute and go, you know, further into details, or even another bull flag. So as long as we're still doing this bull flag here and we don't, this is not bearish at all. This is pretty bullish. Let me put up the RSI. RSI went from a high, now we're coming back down. So this is a nice point, but we do see somewhat of a divergence here. This is scary. Keeping this strictly pitch fan, or you know, I'm gonna keep this strictly to pitch fans and not gonna go into divergences as we're covering this. Any questions on this current fan and why it's there and how I laid it down? Am I moving too fast for you guys? Facebook. Thanks, Karen. Do you have any questions, guys, on Facebook, guys on YouTube? Anybody have questions for me before I move forward? No questions on both platforms. All right. I'm going to go ahead and back out a little bit, all right? We're going to go to a 1-day chart and try to do a really long-term fan. This is going to be like the trickiest part, right? Here we see something very similar to the swing high, swing low that I utilized over here for this new uptrend. But from here we went parabolic. So let's try to see if we can put a fan. The parabolia is going to be outside of the fan, I presume. And then this is going to be friction with the top of the fan, just from what I've been seeing. We could even go as far as doing a really massive fan. But the idea of utilizing the fan isn't to get these really drastic ranges, because the fan widens out. And the wider the fan, the bigger the distance between our pivots is going to be, and that's not tradable. We want to keep it in a tradable range. But just for entertainment, I'm going to go ahead and do a fan from these levels and see what we're doing, or what BTC's price action's doing in regards to fib fanning this move. And we're going to go from range, swing high, swing low. That's not right. We're still somewhat of in an uptrend. And look at that. We didn't get much friction with the median. Well, why is that? Because we had a parabolic move up, and then we had a parabolic move down. But as we can see, we had this last wick, right, based on this fan. Even I was to drag it down a little further, I like it up here a little better. Where was BTC's bottom? It wasn't a straight line across from this wick by any means. So a lot of new traders come into the market and they think support resistance lines are going to be purely horizontal, right? But they're not. Support and resistance is going to be more of these upwards and downwards channels as well. Look at this move. We've got all these higher lows along this fib line and it break down. What happens here? A bear flag at the next fib. Break down again. Another bear flag at this next fib into our pivot point. And now here we go. We got one rejection at this fib level. And we almost got another rejection at this level. We actually got it a little below. Down into another pivot at this fib level. I've actually done, really long-term fans, and back whenever we had the pullback to 9,300, 9,400, this pullback, right? I announced that, hey guys, from here we're gonna enter this pullback and we are gonna trace back down to that 9,300 range. And that was based on a really long-term fib fan, and it was a couple of fractals on it. I'm going to take one more round of questions if you guys have them, and then bring this workshop to an end. So hit me up with any questions regarding fans. Explain the process of what you would look at after you've created a pitch fan. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So I'm not going to cover pitchforks. The reason I don't, Johnny, I'll go right back to your question. I'm going to cover the pitchfork. This is what's wrong with a pitchfork. A pitchfork is essentially, it's going to do something like this, right? Where it's going to restrict the price and this range where it's not going to break out of the range. You're not going to get as many bounce points. So I'll go ahead and throw a pitchfork on. I don't like pitchforks. So pitchfork's going to be swing low, swing high, swing low, or even, swing low. Look at that. How many levels are we getting in a pitchfork? Right? Does price action really conform to a parallel channel? I don't think so. And that's why I don't like them. Pitchfork traders, I don't think pitchfork traders do as well as other traders. You'll never see me throw a pitchfork on. I actually messed around with pitchforks and just completely scrapped them. They work for some people. I think they're not as dynamic as a fan because the price action never gets constricted in this parallel channel. Back to Johnny's question. Could you explain the process of what you would look at after you've created the pitch fan? So we're gonna go into this intraday. What am I gonna look for after we do this intraday pitch fan on BTC, like real-time scenario? I like the hands-on scenarios because it gives us actionable data and know how we can proceed, the rest of the day or the rest of the week and what we need to look for here. We go swing low, swing high, swing low. Oh, that doesn't look good. So one thing I'm going to look for, depending on what's really most congruent with the way BTC is acting, right? So we can add an RSI and start looking for divergences. to see how it's going to conform to the fan. Now, this is a 10-minute chart, and I see somewhat of a bearish divergence here, right? But what's disagreeing with this bearish divergence? I'm going to go ahead and highlight the divergence for it to make more sense. We've got the swing high here. We got a higher high with the price action, and we've got a lower high on RSI. What's that going to do? That's going to make us break back down. Now, where are we going to break back down to? Most likely the median. And if we keep going into this falling wedge or this bull flag formation, we might come down to the median for another, for another test of the median. And if we do this falling wedge down here, then we're going to break upwards again. So this divergence doesn't mean, it's only on a 10-minute chart. It doesn't mean that this new bullish move is over. What it tells us is that we're going to get a retracement somewhere for a continuation. And if the next high is also divergent, that would not be very good. That would not look good for BTC. That means this new move is unsustainable on a 10-minute chart. So we could look for divergences. We can look at bar patterns, right? What do we see here? We saw somewhat of a head and shoulders bar pattern, broke downwards, but then it really made this bull flag that broke up again. So Johnny, we can look for divergences. We can look at chart patterns. We can look for like a falling wedge or a rising wedge. There's a lot of things that are gonna, let us know how to proceed. If you were an Ichimoku cloud trader, right, you throw on a cloud. So this isn't an edge by itself. This isn't just a tradable data. We can't just trade with just the fan. But what it does, if somebody's an Ichi trader, if somebody's a divergence trader, or if you're a candlestick formations trader, whatever you are, this is going to add an element of edge, where if you see divergence, you're going to be able to break, to kind of take a step back and say, okay, it's divergent. Where's it going to break down to next? And that's where you would want to start assessing the next move. I'm going to go to a 5-minute chart to see, how's this divergence is looking on a 5. Oh, we lost our RSI. I'm going to add a stochastic and a regular RSI. Now we're also seeing this divergence here as well. But, I entered my last long on really low leverage earlier, in this range, probably around here. And I'm just going to let it ride for now. I'm not too worried about these small intraday divergences. We're probably going to break back down to this fib level. Not sure if we're going to test that 92 range again. But once we get this next correction on the RSI down here and we get another parabolic move up, which I'm hoping we get, so BTC continues this uptrend. And if not, well, this was probably a dead cat bounce, and we'll reassess it. And the reason I'm not too worried about this small divergence on a 5 and 10-minute chart is because we did see that massive double bottom with an RSI double bottom on the 4-hour chart. So back to our RSI. Now, this also doesn't look good up here, right? We were headed up. We are going parabolic. That's good. We don't want to see a new high on a lower high. That would be another bearish divergence, and we would break downwards again. One thing that was really worrisome when we were forming this rising wedge, and it kept broadening and then rising again, for 2 or 3 days. I'm like, guys, there's a rising wedge. This is not good. This doesn't look good. This is not healthy. I'm not only did we have a rising wedge, but it wasn't divergent on a 4-hour until here, and we broke down. So we really want to see where this 4-hour RSI goes to before making the next move. It would be nice if we can achieve something like this on the RSI and really work our way up instead of heading straight up. And really, you know, if this high on the RSI is higher than this previous high, that would not be healthy for BTC. We've got this double top formation. We've got these two lower lows. And we've got a bullish divergence here. That's why I wasn't worried about the short-term divergence. We've got some room to run, so long as whatever high we achieve on this RSI, right, isn't higher than 11,000 up here. Do y'all get what I'm trying to say with that, you know, possible upcoming bearish divergence for another move down? Awesome. It looks like we've got a guru on Facebook with his comment. Kevin, back to your December 10th comment, bud. Did you just hear what I said about, you know, the upcoming possible bearish divergence, right? We go back to December 10th. I wanna talk to this Kevin guy for a bit. December 10th. 2, 3, 4. And you can make these predictions months in advance, right? But if your prediction was tradable data and somebody shorted BTC according to your prediction, they would have been wrecked, right? Because there was another peak up there. And yes, there had been bearish divergence on it, but I like the fact that you can predict an 8.5K price 2 months, 3 months in advance. But if it's not actionable data that we can trade upon, well, it's just a prediction. It's a nice prediction. What's your next prediction, Kevin? He's taking this comment from Facebook. No prediction? Alright, well, I hope that answers all y'all's questions on the Pitchfan. We've been on stream for maybe like an hour. How long have we been on? 48 minutes. So, if you guys have any more questions, hit me right now. We're just going to go ahead and call this workshop. I'm going to drop Kevin's question in the chat about his. That was Kevin's comment that I was responding to. Well, guys, thank you for tuning into this Pitchfan workshop. We tend to host these workshops about, you know, once a week. I did a workshop last week and the one previous. If you're not on our chat room, make sure to go ahead, and there's a link in the video to join our Discord. So go ahead and hop on our Discord and check out our community. We're a community of traders. We're educational. We help each other out with these trades, and we're online mostly 24/7 most of the days with a pretty awesome group of analysts. So thanks for tuning into this workshop, guys, and I'll see you next time.